All right, everyone, we start off today talking about a bit that AOC actually was saying the other day. Link in the description, archived, of course. How someone can be so right, very frankly, there's a broken clock in AOC's case, but she's very right on one end, but completely and abjectly wrong on why she's right. It's a conundrum. It's a paradoxical situation where one of the least likable, least intelligent individuals is saying the part out loud that much of the Democratic Party doesn't want to admit to. They're in fucking stark denial, but then completely misidentifies why she's actually right. So she relapses into Shrek Donkey mode. First and foremost, though, right now we're clanking on a poll. Link also in the description, and I'm going to pin this down below today, to a Lincoln Project poll. I mentioned this the other day in a video, but for those of you that are watching the morning slew instead of the later videos in the day, or you're at work or something, please do participate and vote for Mitch McConnell in that poll. Number one, it's not technically rigging a poll. You get an account, you're allowed to vote. And also Mitch McConnell, I think that most of us would agree, is the worst person on that list. Right now, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene derangement syndrome big time among leftoid factions. So by knocking her out of their goofy bracketing thing, there'll probably be some lulls had. Mitch McConnell should be able to sail through to the end because Turtle Man is almost universally agreed upon to be terrible. Also got Trump derangement syndrome at times. Definitely an opportunist. Stands out on this list of people that are either very forthright and populistic or in some cases just talented like Alex Jones. Anyway, we'll get right into this. So please do participate if you have a Twitter account. AOC here. Again, link in the description as well, archived. Talking about how the Democratic Party's in trouble. Now, I know what you'll say. Well, that's a no-brainer. That's a low-hanging fruit. There are still, I think, at least a near majority of Democrats, both in the party itself, legacy media figures, although a vanishing number of them, and definitely a lot of brain-dead lay liberals that think that the Democrats are in a powerful position right now. Well, Biden's doing so well. The economy is booming. MSNBC declaring that the economy is booming the other day. Oh yeah, I wonder what today's first New Tech exclusive will be about, by the way. And in denial about the situation in Ukraine, in denial about basically everything. You get Fauci coming out still trying to stoke fear as well, which shows that the public interest in certain other issues is decreasing. You have all sorts of problems. But instead of saying, hey, inflation's a problem and the Democratic Party has dealt with this poorly in the optic sense, the border is wide open and this is not good for, our Democratic Party votes in many parts of the country. We alienated especially Floridian voters because we allowed Bernie to sit there and ramble on and praise Castro during the last election. And all of these problems are self-inflicted. And that's really the reason why the Democrats are in trouble going into the midterms. Again, it's not that many months left. They're slipping further behind. They're at least 3.5, 4 points behind in aggregated polling for the congressional generic ballot matchup. They're going to lose, I think, most of the key races that they would like to defend and or knock out Republicans in. I think that at the moment, if the election were held, they would lose 35 House seats. I mean, they've got, almost a 3-to-1 disadvantage when it comes to non-incumbency due to retirement or seeking other office. In some you've got goofy Beto O'Rourke. A great statement about the Democrats right now. Beto O'Rourke is their boy to run against Greg Abbott. He's going to get his clock cleaned. But what does AOC mention in here? There's one specific line that I thought was hilarious, which is this. He's like, well, the Democratic Party can't keep playing it up to a vanishing thin band of independent voters. We've got to understand, socialism isn't a bad word and stuff. No, that's the whole problem. This is a 180 from the first part of her statement. Dems are in trouble. Yeah, absolutely right. A+, gold star. She does a 180 and gets it absolutely wrong on this and thinks that the Democrats should lurch further to the left. Oh yeah, fuck the border. I'm going to go after guns some more. We need more taxes. Inflation, just deal with it. Let's eat lentils. Climate change, climate change, climate change. By the way, the climate change bullshit from AOC especially, main sponsor of the Green New Deal to eliminate cow farts and transatlantic flight. You remember that initial draft release that wasn't authorized but apparently was at some mid-staffer level and embarrassed the whole Democratic Party because it looked absolutely nuts. And then they snuck part of it into the infrastructure bill and they're still trying to ram it into the federal budget, costing us hundreds of billions of dollars we quite clearly do not have at the moment. The problem is that when you're in an energy war with the Russians, and you're trying to make out, well, Ukraine, it's a big issue for us, even though we're not directly involved. It's a fight for democracy and stuff, but you want to handicap the U.S. energy industry and tell people eat the lentils so that you can buy a $50,000 fucking EV. That doesn't make sense. Strategically, AOC has this problem. The Dems at large have this problem. Because they are such a top-down hierarchical system, as opposed to the Republicans, they're beginning to learn that grassroots, ground-up, local and state-level movement is far more effective. It lets you govern more effectively. Yes, you'll have internal disagreements within the party, but it'll help you gain power more easily. And you have to do that and get rid of all the old neocon dross because they're a relic of 15, 20 years ago within politics anyway. The Democrats largely ignoring this fact. The fact is this. When you look at the situation right now, it's the people like AOC that are the problem within the Democratic Party. AOC was astroturfed in by big money through the Occupy Democrats. Through the Justice Democrats. She's more an actress than she is an actual politician, and she's certainly no leader of any sort. The idea, by the way, that she'd make a credible run for the presidency now or in the future, I hate to tell both the wishful thinking far left and the hyperbolic frothing at the mouth, we're falling into communism right wing, that ain't going to happen. If anything, if the Democrats want to succeed, they have to go in the other direction. But people like AOC picked off already safely blue districts and said, look, it's 70% Dem partisans. Whoever the Democrat is in will win. All we have to do is look for people who haven't had to really face any significant opposition from the in-party in a while and pick them off by using superior money and having a superior knocking on doors strategy. And so AOC's district is far blue. She thinks that represents the national consensus, or at least a consensus of Democrats. But it doesn't. A majority of Democrats oppose the kind of things that she's putting forth. Independent voters, by the way, are not a vanishing band. Her statement is completely 180 from actual reality. The number of independent voters over the last couple of years has skyrocketed. Both parties lost a considerable proportion of the electorate after the last election. When they looked at polling thereafter, the number of independents, I think, grew by 9 points. Mostly from the Democrats. It was mostly Democrats getting off board, which is why the GOP now has a registry advantage. In places like Florida, for the Dems, it's even more dire. The state has flipped massively in favor of the GOP. It doesn't, and in some cases, it's the GOP gaining an advantage. That's good for them. In most cases, it's simply the rise of the independent voter. AOC couldn't be more wrong. I don't know what statistics she's looking at to determine that there is a vanishing minority of independents within the country. People aren't getting more partisan. I keep hearing all the time, oh, people are getting so partisan. This country's ripping apart. They're getting less partisan. They're getting more ideological. The problem is ideology and party aren't always the same thing. As we see with the Democrats, one of their problems is trying to coordinate and rectify a situation wherein you have the far left pole, AOC, Ilhan Omar, people like that, mainly in the House. Bernie Sanders, old guard, considered to be a centrist by these lunatics. You have them. You have what would be the vanishing core in the Democratic Party, which is lean left union voter style people. They're losing them to the GOP in droves because of Trump injecting populism in. And then you have like the neolibs, the corporate, the stuffed shirt types, and their boring NPR listening fan base. These people don't get along together. The neoliberals and union types understand basic economics. The left doesn't. The left understands a less interventionist national diplomatic strategy. The neoliberals are just as war-thirsty as any neocon Bushite because they're basically the same. These things cannot play well together. You've arguably broadened the tent too much, and what you did is you dragged the tent to the side to cover the far left, to say, okay, we'll allow the socialists in. We're no longer going to treat it like it's a dirty word, alienating all the center leftists, which are more numerous. There are more left-leaning independents in the United States than there are leftoids. They are vastly outnumbered. The only reason that it seems to people, oh, lurching far left, the left keeps growing, we're going to be under communism soon. No. They're just more vocal. And they get namby-pambied. They get treated with kid gloves by big corporations because they're so fucking gullible. It's really easy to get them to buy materialistic shit, slave-made products, if you just slap a gay pride logo on it. Leftoids are the lowest interest voting bloc within the United States. They're lower than literally any other. AOC is a perfect representation of everything that they are. Dumb, hyperbolic, frothing at the mouth, fucking insane. That's about all. Peace out.